Hey, Cats crew. Welcome back to Cat Explorers, Cat and Company. It's your dynamic duo. We're back. Me and my favorite Canadian Nelson are back to chop it up about all things travel. You know how we do. But this little intro serves as our housekeeping items. I'm not going to keep you guys too long. And we didn't keep you guys too long in this next podcast either. I think we chopped it up for about 45, 50 minutes. But you know how it is when friends get together and start talking, we could go on and on and on, especially about something that we're so passionate about. But to our housekeeping items, as you know, everything's on the bio site. Everything that's going on with me is on the bio sites, and it's always posted in the show notes. So click there. I'm also working on an intake form for anybody who wants to be a co-host with me. So that should populate on there soon. I haven't done it yet. Y'all know I'm slow on the intake sometimes. But I did want to update you guys and let you guys know that the Cuffed campaign is launched. It's live. So let's go be global citizens. Help me spread love all around the world with my Postcards of Love initiative and helping those of us less fortunate around the world. As you know, we are global citizens and we care about our global neighbors. Um, the other thing I want to tell you guys about is I see the movement. I see y'all listening to podcast episodes, and I appreciate you guys so, so, so much. The one thing that I would say, y'all know I'm an analytics girl, kind of, sort of. I'm not like obsessive about it or anything, but I do look at them a time or two. And what I will tell you is the ones that are in my top 10, so of course, all of the episodes are great, right? But the ones that you guys are listening to that are in the top 10, they are really some of my favorite episodes. So, for example, uh, I told you guys this a while ago, but my weirdness is wonderful. It's still trending really high. And it's just a great, great episode about just embracing your uniqueness, right? And it's like a 5 minute episode. So, listening to it from like taking a brief walk from like your desk to your elevator or something or downstairs to get some lunch, you can knock that out really easily. But it's a really, really, really good episode. The I Am Enough in Your Travel Why, that's another great one. This is actually one of my favorite ones. It's okay to outgrow your environment. And that one was done shortly after the late great Tina Turner passed away. And if you know anything about her backstory, her history, she wanted to be a nurse in Nutbush, Tennessee. And look at how she just blossomed and grew out of leaving that. And even though she had that, the domestic violence stuff that was going on with her and Ike, even after she divorced Ike, I mean, she left with nothing. And dare we all say that she was more popular after Ike than she ever was with him. So again, she had to outgrow her environment several different times. And that's just a really good one. It's not what happened, but how you respond to it. I mean, of course, listen to these titles. These they'll tell you kind of what the topics are. And even one, I went to Cancun and all I got was COVID. That's a pretty funny one. So you guys are listening to the older ones, and that's great. I hope you fall in love with the newer ones too. The newer ones after the rebrand. My goal is to try to weave some of those things that I did with the old podcast into the new podcast because there were things that I really liked about it. I liked starting kind of the things with the mantras, and I might bring that back. I really did enjoy that, or at some point in the episode, talk about mantras and things of that sort. So, but yeah, guys, thank you so much. Again, I'm trying to get just consistent at this thing because you guys have held out with me, and I want to be there for you guys, and so I appreciate your listenership as always because I know there's tens of thousands of content out there that you could be listening to, but you choose to hang out with this girl, and that is not lost on me. So, gonna wrap. I didn't say this in the episode, but of course, our one thing, my one thing. Yeah, guys, give me something I can see. Y'all know my one thing. Hashtag my MYONETHING. Or you could tag me at Where Kit Walks. I'm at Where Kit Walks pretty much everywhere on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Um, Also, the merch store is open. I did finally get around to that. If you're following me on TikTok, which you should be following me on TikTok, I finally got around to ordering myself a shirt because I have all the old podcast shirts, but I need a new podcast shirt. So I finally got around to ordering myself a podcast shirt, and it came one day last week, and it was very, very beautiful. Um, I mean, that's the other part of just kind of my day and what I like to do as well is like when I'm in that vein of designing shirts and designing merch for you guys. So I am going to wrap, my friends. I noticed that I've talked for 5 minutes and I don't want to make this an hour long podcast once I add everything to it. But again, thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoy the next installment of Cat and Company with Nelson. Thank you guys. Welcome back, Globetrotters. Here with our favorite Canadian. Are you my only Canadian?
It better be.
I think you're my only Canadian for now.
Oh, thank you. Let me know when you find another one. I probably know him.
You probably do.
Yeah.
Canada's not that small. Y'all know everybody up there.
Most people, not everyone, but most.
So we're gonna chop this up another episode with Kat and Nelson. So let me tell you, everybody, it's the episode got a lot of good streams, and
Oh, yeah, that's good.
yeah, it was really good. And apparently, my friends, some of them are kind of slightly disappointed that I didn't go on this hike in the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
When I when I was in Thailand, one of my friends was like, "No, you could have tagged me in. Like I would have went." I'm like, "Yeah, like nah." I was like, "Listen, I'm adventurous to a point, and then it's just that's where we ended, you know." And like I said, like I kind of judge things with like, "Am I gonna wake up and like regret this?" That was like probably 10 years ago now. I don't regret that. I'm
Oh,
okay.
really?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think we talked about that. That's how I feel about Pisa. Not going to Pisa.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, am I going to regret this? It's like, no, I have zero regrets about not going to. And you know what? Like I said before, I made the most of it in Florence. Like I love
Yeah.
Florence
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
stuck around. And yeah, so
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Like even like talking about it, one of my friends like called me and she was like, "Oh my God, Katrina, I can't believe you did." I'm like, "Yeah, no, like I didn't, no." And even talking about it, I was like, "No, that's they spent I think like 2 nights in the jungle and then
I
rafting
would have
down."
done that.
Yeah, no, no. Yeah, no. I think you said that in the last one. She was like, "I'm so with Nelson." I'm like, first
Yeah.
of all, we don't agree with Nelson out loud, right? I was like, we don't do that. Like, we just let Nelson do what Nelson does. But she was like, no, 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 I would have done it completely. I was like, they enjoyed it until the wave crashed on the raft and the boy had to save his girlfriend, now his wife. But, I was like, yeah, no, I don't regret that at all. It was, I did. I would have, so we also swam with the elephants. We went to this elephant park and we did that whole thing.
Yes, that I remember. That was
I would have
cool.
regretted that. That I would have looked back and been like, why didn't I do that? And that was really fun. That was a really fun experience. So,
I thought I read recently, was it Thailand where they were restricting the use of elephants for tourism?
mm,
I think I heard there was
really,
I'm not sure which country, but they're starting to pass laws that restrict elephants for tourism businesses.
I could see that though. I watched the documentary. I wish I could remember the name of it, and they were talking about that, like these countries that use animals.
Yes.
Actually, nope. It wasn't even about using animals because oh god, this is gonna be terrible. I forgot where they were. Man, I'm gonna have to find this thing now. Because you would. It's really interesting. But they were talking about like it was kind of like the animals, but then all that kind of stuff. But then also like some of the tour groups that'll take you to like an orphanage or something like that.
Yes. Oh.
So they were talking about all of that. But back to I was completely shocked. I was like, that's kind of disgusting. Like kids aren't like tourism attractions. That's kind of weird. But yeah, they were talking about some of the inhumane conditions how they train these animals. animals, and the elephants were kind of the roughest. But this was like a conservatory, like a place that like rescued, I guess, elephants from those kind of places, and
Mm-hmm.
so they treated them humanely and stuff like that. But even somebody like tried to argue like even those places like still aren't the best because you're still like getting people in to like see these animals or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah. Was that documentary called The Last Tourist?
I don't know. I can't remember. Let me Google
Yeah.
it right quick.
Because it sounds familiar. Because I mean, there was a documentary called The Last Tourist, and it was done by, I think it was created by the guys who started G Adventures. And there's a part where they talk about how, you know, there's a lot of countries that exploit elephants so they can get tourism,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of what I've been hearing lately. Like when I mean lately, I mean I think I heard within like the past month or 2 months
Mm-hmm.
that I think I want to say it was Thailand. I could be wrong, but they passed a law saying, yeah, we're not, you can't do that anymore.
I can see that because I think they're one of the main countries that do it, and I think they've gotten called to the carpet a lot of times about it because of some of the stuff is just really, really just bad. I don't know. I'll have to look. I'll look that one up. And guys, I'll put it in the show notes if I can. If I find the one that I watched. But it was just, it was crazy. I was like, whoa, this is really kind of makes you think differently about the way you kind of travel. I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what the documentary was about. It was about sustainable travel, and they took pot shots at cruisers and stuff like that. And I mean, I didn't mind the documentary, but I kind of found it interesting that this documentary was produced by creators of a travel group, and they didn't mention the environmental impact of airplanes. I kind of found it
Mm,
interesting that they never talked about that. You'll criticize cruise lines for the environmental impact they have, but you don't mention planes. Hey, all right,
right.
whatever. You know,
Well,
I'm
and
not going to judge.
that it's a travel company anyway. Because I'm trying to
Yeah.
think. Was my yeah? I think I yeah. The Thailand trip I think was G Adventures. Like
Yes.
you're putting people in situations where they could go see elephants and different things of that sort. So are you smacking your own hand too?
Yeah. Well, how long ago was that? I mean, this documentary was like 2023, so it was kind of sort of recent.
I just found it like probably a couple months ago.
Oh, oh, really?
I don't know if it's new or not. I'm not saying that. It could be the same one. I just
Mm.
was like looking for some travel stuff. I watch a lot of travel documentaries and I saw it. But that probably was it cuz I try not to watch anything like too old cuz it's, probably outdated or something crazy. So that could have easily been it. Um anyway, speaking of which, so last time you said I thought it was interesting, and I thought like because our travel styles are different. You said you like the group travel part. I'm a solo traveler, and it's funny
Mm-hmm.
because like the 5 weeks that I did, like half of it I was by myself, and half of it I was with the group. Right. So you said you like the group aspect of it,
Correct.
right?
I love it. Yes.
Why?
Um, when I first did it, I was just gonna start. I was just gonna do the solo thing, and I figured, you know what, man, I just wanted to do it so that I could have someone else take care of the hotel and stuff, and I was gonna manage my own entertainment, and then I started talking to the people there, and like everyone was so vastly different, right? Like
Mm,
everyone was from a different part of the world. Like I mean, there was like Australians and English, and there was a couple Germans, and everyone was just having a good time, and everyone was just vibing and gelling, and everyone was wanting to know each other,
mm-hmm.
and it was just I fell in love with it so fast, especially when I went to Egypt. That's I think when I first did it.
Yeah, yeah.
And basically, I mean, when you're going to Egypt, everyone's going for the same reasons, right?
That's true. That's a very good point.
So it just makes sense. It's like, hey, I'm going to the Cairo Museum. You want to come along, or I'm going to check out these temples. You want to come along? I can't remember if I mentioned last time we were in Aswan, and me and this English guy were just scouring the city looking for beer. And Aswan was just dry, man, just absolutely dry. And it's like, yeah, we didn't succeed, but that was fun. We
It
were
was
just
fun,
chilling,
right?
and yeah, I learned a lot about this dude. This dude, his name was Georgie, and he was just lost in life, and we talked about life, and he was saying he didn't know what he wanted to do, and we were talking about how he was in the military, he had been to Africa, he had been to Germany, and he'd been to all these places. And it's like, dude, for a guy who doesn't know what he wants to do, you've done a lot.
You've done a lot, right?
And yeah. So I haven't kept in touch with him, but I'm still friends with him on Facebook, and I see him
Okay.
pop up every so often. But that's another thing. Yeah, I like to try to keep in touch with everyone I meet, and especially like most of these people who go on these groups are travelers, right? They
Yeah.
mean they enjoy traveling. So, you know, I love everything. Like I love the planning stage of traveling, right? So whenever I see them, I always talk to someone, and at the very least, they have some trip on the go, right? Like it's at least something planned
Right.
on the
They're
back
thinking
burner.
about something. Right.
Yeah, so I'll always we'll always have something to talk about with them on in that perspective, and and that way I'll tell them what I've heard, like
Right.
you should check out Iceland. I've heard good things about Iceland, or don't go to Brazil, in May because it's cold, or
Right. Right.
like
Right.
you don't think like stuff like that, and I think you know what we were talking about it was it like a couple we were talking about all the festivals around the
Yep.
world,
Mm-hmm.
and that's another one. It's like, dude, like you can make a career out of like following festivals, international
Yes. There's
festivals.
so many.
Yeah, like I mean, you could spend all day studying it and not even scratch the surface. Like there are
Yeah.
so many, and there's so many great ones on top of that. Like you sent me a video of that festival in Colombia
Yes.
with the parade, with all the big
Yeah. The
floats,
floats.
and then
Yeah.
holy smokes, that was crazy.
Yeah. My friends. I'm sure I annoy them most. No, I don't. They love because I'm such a traveler and I love all the different stuff. And so I posted that video actually to my Facebook page, and they were like, "Why don't we have anything like that?" I'm like, "No, we don't have any festivals anywhere in the United States. I think that revel some of the things that I've seen abroad." And I just kind of
Yeah.
stumbled up on that one because I think one of my, now in Instagram you can like highlight your interest. It'll populate your feed with things that you're interested in. So of course
Yes.
one of the things I said is festivals, and so it'll send to me like all these incredible videos of just festivals. So I never even knew that festival existed. I was like, okay,
I
now
gotta
I
do
gotta
that.
go to Colombia. Okay, fine.
Well, it's funny that you said that. It's because I've always wanted to go to Gasparilla for the Tampa Bay for the Pirate Fest for the flotilla.
Oh,
It's like, I mean, it's all perspective. Like, I mean, I'm sure some people wouldn't be of any interest to them. To me,
right.
seeing pirate ships and getting drunk is peak, right? Like, I mean, I'm happy doing that. I would love to go to Mardi Gras still.
Come on.
There you go. Like, I mean, there's lots of festivals. Like, I would go check out the rodeo in Houston that's going on right
I
now.
think you gotta do the rodeo. It's
Yes.
funny. I'm online a lot, so I'm always in somebody's like chat room talking about something. And so there's this guy, he and I become like kind of cool or whatever. So anyway, he was apparently in Houston, I think last week, and he was at the rental car place, and something, I guess they were having an issue or something, trying to get him a car, and he's like, "Oh, we can get you a car," and he was like, "Why not?" And the clerk was like, it's the rodeo," and he was like, "What does that mean?" I was like, "Oh my god, it's the rodeo." I told y'all I don't do too much Texany stuff. I don't like to embrace it, but it's the rodeo and it's the biggest thing going.
Yeah, fair enough. Yes,
It's
yes.
the biggest. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, and the funny thing is, like, all around the world, that's how much this like stereotype has like infiltrated. Like, you think it's maybe one thing or another, but like, if I anywhere in the world, and I tell people like that I'm from Texas, they instantly think cowboy, cowgirl, you ride horses, that kind of thing. I'm like, dude, I haven't rode a horse since I was
Yeah.
5.
I'm not gonna lie. Well,
and
the first thing I thought is that how many guns does she have? That was my
right.
first thing.
Oh, that's interesting. Nobody's asked me if I have any guns. That's fine.
I just assumed you would.
Right. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. They're like, well, she's Texan. She's got to have a gun. But yeah, they just.
Hey, you've sent me video of cowboys riding down the street in like non rodeo season. It's like, yeah, this is Houston. It's like,
I mean,
okay.
that's Houston. Here's the thing I think about Houston though, because it's funny. A friend of mine who's from New Jersey who came to visit me some years ago, he was very shocked at like how metropolitan Houston was. I'm like, yeah, we're a big city.
Really?
I'm not saying you're not gonna see perhaps somebody riding down the street on a horse, maybe, but we're not. Houston's not rural. Like I could take you to the towns that I was a tourism director in, very rural. Even on the
Yeah.
coast, because one of my towns was a coastal town. But even on the coast, it's still very, people are riding horses down the street and the bays in the back, the background or whatever. But nah, Houston's very metropolitan.
That's funny coming from someone from New Jersey, because when I think of New Jersey, I just think of America's armpit, right? It's like, it's like it's the place people drive through to get to New York. That's like the stereotype.
That's funny. But yeah, he was just the thing is his mom went to Dallas and she was like,
Oh,
oh, like no, and Dallas and Houston are vastly different. Even though Dallas is kind of a big city, Dallas still kind of moves like a smaller town, like kind of rural. So I'm like, nah, you will see like lawyers wear suits with cowboy boots in Dallas, but that's not what we do. Like we just we just regular. And
not
he
like
would
those
like
people
argue.
in
He would
Dallas.
like argue me down. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna argue with you. When you come, you'll see it. So when he came, he was like, wow, like so now he lives in Atlanta, and at the time he was living in Atlanta. So he was like, yeah, Houston like looks like Atlanta. I'm like, yes, we're very metropolitan. We're actually not like not like what you think it is. But all around the world, people finding out from Texas, they're like, oh, like it's a Western show. I'm like, man, I don't know who promoted that stereotype, but that thing has stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, another stereotype that I heard about Texas cities is how unwalkable the cities are. I don't
They
know if that's
are.
true.
That's very. I'll
Really?
say it for Houston. Yeah, they are.
Hmm.
That's. I think some of the things that I appreciate about like when I travel internationally, like I drive everywhere in Houston. It's funny. Mom and I went to the store last night, and there's a little corner store probably across the street, maybe a 3-minute walk. Typically, I'll get in my truck and I'll drive over there. But last night, I was just like, the weather was kind of nice. I was like, let's just walk to the store. She was like, you're gonna walk to the store? And I was like, Mom, like when I was in Venice, I walked easily 20,000 steps every day. Granted, Venice doesn't have cars, um, but even when I travel like to other places, I don't drive. I typically don't drive. I use public transportation or I walk. But no, the cities aren't. I don't know who our urban planners are, but the cities here aren't walkable at all.
Yeah. I try to I try to use public transit when I travel, just for the experience. I like to people watch too. Um, you know, Rome was interesting. Every Roman was like, it's like they knew right away that you're a tourist. They just look at you and
Yes.
say, yeah, watch out for the pickpockets. Watch out for the pickpockets.
Right.
There's gypsies here. Watch out for them. It's like, whoa, okay.
They had me really nervous about that when I went to Venice that first time because I can't remember those two guys. I think they were from Canada too. But they were like, "Oh, there's pickpockets." And I was like, "Oh my god, somebody's gonna rob me."
Yes. It's
Oh.
I mean, I think it's a stereotype that's true. It's like there's a lot of pickpockets. I remember when we were there, I was walking with you and there was another tourist and I accidentally bumped into him and he immediately turned around and thought I was trying to pickpocket him. And I think he realized that, yeah, he saw the group and he realized I was a tourist. And yeah, just his reaction was so over the top.
Oh my
It's like,
God.
whoa, I'm not trying to rob you, buddy.
You're like, buddy, my bad. Well, no, and I think that's the thing. I don't think there's inherently any one place that's safer than the other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll hear things even here where people come here or, stories about things here where tourists, certain things have happened to certain tourists or they were out somewhere or whatever. So I don't think there's inherently a place that was like, there's no, pickpockets or anything, but
Yeah.
but yeah,
they're-
they freaked me out so bad. I was like, oh my god, I had like my little crossbody and my jacket over my crossbody, so my crossbody was tucked under. I'm like, oh Jesus, this is so crazy.
Yeah, I got one of those travel wallets that hang around your neck just for
Oh
Italy.
yeah, yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah, this is nothing, man. Come on, like this is terrible. But you know what? They do kind of hype it up because I remember at the
Yeah.
hotel in Rome, I asked the lady. I was there a day early before the tour started, and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go to the Vatican, but I wasn't sure if I needed my passport, right? Because the Vatican's another country, and I was kind of
Oh
asking around, and no one could
Jesus!
give me a straight answer. So I asked her, it's like, hey, do I need a passport to get to the Vatican? And she looked at me and she was thinking about it. It's like, oh, you know what? I don't know. But if you go, watch out for the gypsies, they'll pickpocket you. And I was like, wow, holy
you're like,
smokes!
you're
And
like,
it was like
wait.
right out of nowhere. It's like, all right, thanks for the advice. And the funny thing is that my wife is actually part gypsy, so I texted her
Oh my
right
God,
away.
that's
And I
funny.
let her
Right,
know,
right, right.
right? Like, she's like, hey, guess what? They love your people here.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Yeah, like that's funny. I think it was. I can't remember. It was on that trip though. I think somebody said the same thing about like Florence. Um, well, even Stefano gave me a warning about Florence too. So, um,
Yes, I think it's just a European thing. You know, they're just so used to it. Like, it's not that they're used to it. I think we're just used to it not being part of our culture. Like, I'm
right,
starting to hear stories of pickpockets in Toronto on the subway, and it's
really,
like, really? Like, it's just not a thing here, man. It's just
right,
really not a
right.
thing. And the only time I've ever heard of pickpockets in like the U.S. is in Vegas. There's a couple spots in Vegas where they say,
Mm.
"Watch out when you're watching. If you're watching the Bellagio fountains,
Oh, the
just
fountain
be
thing. Yeah,
careful.
yeah.
You know there might be some pickpockets there, but you know don't worry about it. But just be mindful of it. That's it. That's my only
Right,
experience
right.
with hearing about pickpockets in North America. Whereas there, it's just so pervasive.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, and the thing with Stefano, now it makes me think about my experience in Naples because I don't know, he was just like, let me know if you kind of have an issue here in Florence. And I was like, okay. I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
know.
what
I don't
is
know. I
somebody
never.
gonna do to me? He was like, just, there's a little, some racial tensions, but just.
Yes, Italians are going to be Italian. What can I
Well,
say?
actually, everything was really cool. I went into a shop. A dude was kind of like whatever. And then when I spoke, because I sound like this,
Hmm.
he realized like I was American. And then he was like really cool. But it's like I
Yeah.
told my mom. We just had this conversation the other day. And I'm like, I don't support like treating anybody bad, irrespective of anything. If somebody's not coming into your shop or they're not sitting in your restaurant, your business is gonna close. So it doesn't matter. Like I could be African, I still got money to spend, so you should still welcome my money. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But the
Hmm.
dude, he was kind of like whatever. And then I was like, ciao, and something. Then I started speaking English, and he was like, oh, okay, Americana. I was like, yeah, all right. We're good
She's
then.
not a migrant.
I
That
promise
was
you.
his.
Like, I'm just here to see things. I'm not trying to take anybody's job. So you mentioned that you keep up with, like, you keep up with everybody that you've been on. Not everybody, because I know that's impossible. But do you find yourself keeping up with people from your group experience?
Yes, I keep. I just keep in touch with them. I mean, time passes on. Like, I mean, it all depends on how old they are at the time. Like, if if someone's a little bit younger, and I'll meet a lot of Australians, right? Like
Oh, okay.
Australians, they love to travel, right? So I'll always keep in touch with them, and I know that traveling's a big deal with them, and it's an ordeal because of geographically where they
Mm-hmm.
located. And every single Australian I've met is like, yeah, I booked 2 months off, or I booked 3 months off to travel, and they'll do all their traveling at once. And so I know that when they do want to travel, there is some planning there, right? And
Right.
oftentimes I'll say, hey, if you're ever coming out to Toronto, let me know. Try and make it as easy as you can. We have space in our house,
Oh,
stuff like
that's
that.
sweet.
But I said it. I said it to some of the Australians on our trip, and I've said it to some other Australians when I was in Portugal, and and they're always so grateful, and I feel so bad for them. It's just because I would love to go to Australia, but it's like when I see that flight, it's like no, I'm not sitting on that plane for that long, and for
I've
that,
been
like,
to
yeah, for
I've
every
been
single
to
one, it's like,
Australia.
yes, yeah, I've heard nothing but great things, and I would love to go. I wanted to live there.
I
I've
did
heard,
too. I went to Sydney and I was like, I don't want to leave.
really.
I
Let
did
me
not.
ask you something.
I did not want to leave.
I've heard that Australia is very racist.
Everybody
Did you?
says that.
But no, eh?
I know.
Okay.
Everybody,
Could be
one of
just
my
you.
friends, it could be, but everybody says that. One of my friends was like, and this was years ago, even before she started traveling. She was like, "Oh my god, you went to Australia? Like I heard it was racist." I was like, "Nah, that wasn't my experience."
Hmm. Well, I've heard some funny stories, and here's like one story. I met a Macedonian, a woman in Toronto. She's Macedonian.
Uh huh.
She looks Macedonian. Like she doesn't look Greek. She looks
Oh,
Macedonian.
okay. Uh.
And she lived in Sydney with her boyfriend for like 6 7 years. And I said, "Oh yeah, how was that?" I was curious about living in Sydney or living in Australia way
Right,
back
right.
when I was doing film school. And she said, "Yeah, they're really racist there. Like everywhere I'd go, they would ask me if I was, they. I said, I'm not from Australia." And and they'd say, "Are you Mexican?" And she's like, "No, I don't. Do I
Really?
look Mexican?" And she said she got that several times, and she thought it was the most bizarre thing. People
That
would
is
always ask her
hilarious.
if she was
No.
Mexican, and I'm like, I've seen her. Like this woman is like, she is Eastern European. She is Baltic.
Wow.
She is clearly Macedonian, right?
Right, right, right.
And it's like these people have never ever seen a Mexican in their lives. If they think that she's a Mexican, but they were like, she said they were pretty hostile too, and she's like, no, I'm from
Really? That is
Toronto, and
so surprising.
yeah,
And I'm
that
like,
was
and
like,
I don't begrudge her travel experience. Like, I won't tell her she's a liar. Because I mean, everybody's like, but no, me and my best friend went probably. Oh my god, we had to be like 30, 31. We had a great time. We were downtown somewhere hanging out, and then it was like some police officers were having a conference, so we got invited to their like they were hanging out after the conference. We ended up getting invited to their little thing, and
oh wow,
so we hung we hung out with them, and it was funny. It was like one of the experiences where I've been like it was my birthday. I'm sorry, I missed all of that. And so one of the guys we ended up like becoming really cool with, and so my friend was like, tomorrow's Katrina's birthday, so we ended up going out. He takes us out to this bar, and first he's like the bar. I don't know, for some reason he thinks the bar like stays open till 4, and the bar doesn't stay open till 4. The bar closes at like 2, and I'm like 3 sheets to the wind. I'm like toasted. And there's a little Aboriginal boy that's there. It's his birthday too, so
oh, word.
he invites me over to his little group. His brothers have taken him out, and so he invites me over to his group. So I'm like drinking like all night, and then so something happened. I think the cop was supposed to take us to like see the Sydney Harbor Bridge. It was supposed to have been lit up at night.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently it wasn't. And my friend was like, "You were like, what do you mean the bridge isn't lit up tonight?" She was like, "You were so mad." She was like, "Katrina, you were like so funny." She was like, "Drunk Katrina is a hoot." I'm like, it doesn't happen often, but drunk Katrina can be a hoot. She
Yeah.
was like, "You were so funny." You were like, "No, we're gonna go see the bridge," and he was like, "I don't think it's lit up." She was like, "You were so mad." But we had a good
Oh,
time. We had a
well,
really, really good
yeah.
time. It's
Did you
funny
ever
though
find out
too
why it
because
wasn't?
no, I never did, never did. And so we ended up hanging out with these boys, like these two cops, because there was another little cop who's kind of that cop was interested in her, and then there's another little cop who was interested in me. So then we just ended up hanging out with them because then it was like a soccer match was going on. So they were like, "Y'all want to come hang out with us and like watch the match?" We were like, "Yeah." So I don't know, but this is this black lady I follow on Instagram. I mean on YouTube, and she did like a show, and she was talking about like racist cities, or she upset a lot of people. She's like, Italians are racist, and people were like commenting this and that. The funny thing is, she felt like Venice was racist and that she loves Naples. And I was like, dude, you could not pay me to go back to Naples ever in life.
Interesting.
It was very interesting. Yeah, she was like, oh no, like people say they love Venice, but she was like, oh no, Venice is like super. I was like, really? I was like, hmm. But that's your
I mean,
lived experience. I mean,
yeah.
it's funny too because there was a girl like right when we got a little bit after we got back from our tour. Um, I was googling something and I found this girl. Apparently, she was in Venice at the same time, and she said the same thing. Like she found Venice to be very racist, and I was like, hmm, that's interesting because we were there at the same time, and I did not find Venice to be very racist. So much
Hmm.
so that I went back to Venice and stayed 2 weeks in Venice, and even during those 2 weeks, I did not find Venice to be racist.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. I've heard like just I've spoken to black friends and they're all like, yeah, I've traveled here in Italy, I've traveled there, and it's like, yeah, Italians are just racist, and it's like, yeah, based on my Italian friends, you're right. Like, I mean, I just
Right,
Italians are racist. Everyone's racist. You know,
right.
it's just how aggressive. What shocks me is just some of the stories I've heard is how open and aggressive they can be on the streets. Right.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
that's that's the part that surprises me, right? And it's like, my wife has a friend who she used to work on cruises, and she would uh, stop in Italy. She did not like working. She did not like stopping in Italy because she was mixed, but
Really.
she was very dark skinned, and she was like, yeah, they would just drop n bombs on her on the streets,
No.
and she is like drop dead gorgeous, just a beautiful
Really.
woman.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, you're gonna like call this woman, and
Right.
it's like, wow, okay, like, I mean, she's just all right, but I mean, that's like you said, that's her experience, and
Yeah. Oh man, listen. Look, I take it for what it is because, like I said, this lady, we had completely opposite experiences in the same city. She's like, I would never go to Venice, and I was like, dude, you have to drag me out of
yeah.
Venice. That's how serious
Well,
I am about Venice. It's like,
that's a good thing about the whole group experience, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
if you go in a group, I guess you're gonna experience. I don't want to say you're not gonna experience it, and hopefully you'll experience less of it. But it's when you're with a group of people, you
yeah, that's
kind
true.
of do stick out. You look like tourists, and you're going to be less likely to criticize people. But I mean, people are
That
still
is
going to be
true. That's
jerks.
very true. And you made a good point about like the Egyptian one was like, I mean, we all are here for like the same purpose type of thing. And
Yes.
I was like, yeah, that is true. You are very, the cool thing about the trip in Egypt was, remember the Italian one. The lady had her daughter there. They were doing the thing together. And she brought her kid.
Piper.
Yeah, I can't remember her name, but
Piper and Michelle.
I had a
I
girl.
believe. Yes.
Yeah, they were Canadian. I had a girl
Yes.
on my Egyptian trip. She was there with her son, and because he loved all ancient history and stuff like that, and so they were doing that. And I thought that was really cool. And he had to be. He probably was the same age as that girl. He might have been a little bit young. I think he was like 11 or so. Because I think her daughter was like a teenager already. But
Yeah,
I
I
just
think her
thought that was
daughter was
really
like,
cool.
yeah, really young, 13, 14, around there. Yeah, so okay,
Oh
going
no.
back to people,
Okay.
like Michelle, she was a handful.
She
She
was.
was, she was a hand, and this is like, look, man, this is why, this is why I love groups. Not everyone's going to be fun. Sometimes, you're going to get people who aren't fun, and Michelle fell into that category, right?
Mm,
And like, I'm just, when I travel, like, nothing's going to bring me down. I
right.
can't let. And Michelle was just one of those people. She I don't want to say she was mean spirited. She's just one of those people who's not happy until she's not happy until she's unhappy. She's not happy
Yeah.
until she's complaining, and she was complaining about everything, man. And
Yeah.
oh my god, it's
She
like,
was a rough customer for me. I was like, oh my god, I
yeah,
can't.
she went with us to the soccer game,
Mhm.
and was it like halfway through she wanted to go, and I'm like, and I remember she asked Stefano, like, can we go now? And Stefano was asking people, so you guys want to go? And I'm like, no, like,
No.
the game's not over yet. I'm here to see Buffon, and and Stefano just turned to her and says, yeah, sorry, I can't leave until everyone wants to leave, and she did not look happy, but she was, she got
Yeah.
over it, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, and I
she's
think
just
that's the thing. Like, yeah, she's just that kind. I think she's just that kind of
she's
person.
just that type of
Yeah,
personality. She
she's
just
just that
likes to
type of person.
complain, and and I felt bad for her daughter. Her daughter was super
Her
quiet,
so yeah, she was.
and yeah, Piper and
And then the funny thing is, she probably got back to her hometown and was like, "Oh man, like I went to this soccer match in Florence, but you wanted to
yes,
go. You're not gonna tell them you wanted to go halfway through. You're gonna say, you know, We had this incredible experience.
Yeah, I remember she was being really dramatic when we were at the roof of the Duomo.
Oh, see, I didn't go to that. I didn't do that.
Oh, we climbed the
Yeah, you
stairs
told
and
me
we went to
about
the
that. I mean, you said that. Yeah.
yeah, the roof of the Duomo, and she was just hanging on to the edge of the fence and making a big deal about how heights were killing her. And I'm like, I don't like heights either, but damn, like, this isn't that bad. And, but you know what? I remember that. Because of those experiences, I remember her. And,
Oh my god,
thanks,
she
Michelle.
frustrated me
You're a
so
pain in the butt, but
much.
thanks for the experience.
I was telling people about her. Oh, they were like, "Oh my goodness." I was like, "She was." But honestly, and I'm kind of like you, right? Like, I feel like the experience is the experience. There were a couple of days I was in Venice and I woke up sick. And it was like, but I'm in Venice, so whatever.
Yes.
I'll open my window and I'll just stay in bed all day and figure it out. But yeah, those things, those type of things do make like the trip, And I try to get my mom to kind of understand it. Like, even if something, if you would say it was a bad experience, right? But it's something you will talk about later. Like you said, even though, like, whatever with her, like, it makes you remember the other parts of the trip. So I try not to even, like,
Mm-hmm.
bog down. Like, even the Naples stuff, like, I try not to get bogged down in, like, the crazy parts of it. But it's still, like, there was still some really good parts. Even us talking about it, because we kind of talked about it in the last one. I was like, oh my God, I need to send a message to the lady that owned the B&B just to check on her, just to see how she was doing, because even through all of that, like, she made the experience better. Like I said, I got up that Monday morning. She was like, "Do you want me to take you around Naples?" And I'm like, "That's not your job. Like, you own the B&B. Your job isn't to, like, be my tour guide. You know what I mean?" I'm like, "No," but
Yeah.
she, like, and I think like, obviously she's in the B&B business, so she understands, like, she needs to have people in her rooms. Like, that's gonna keep her shop open. Her bed and breakfast open. And so she was just really very nice. And, if you run into any troubles, like, call me immediately. And like I said,
Mm-hmm.
she left, like, I think she left like a day before I left. So she was like, she gave me her husband's number. She's like, look, call him if if something happens or whatever. So, I mean, she just didn't have to do that. Like, she just could have been like, I run this B&B. Sorry you having such a terrible time or whatever. But I really just appreciated her for doing that for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if that's like a B and b thing, because I kind of sort of experienced that with when I was in Salem,
Oh, really?
Massachusetts. I stayed at a B and B, and the family there had left for because it was over Columbus Day. It was over
Okay.
Columbus Day weekend, and the
Yeah, yeah.
family had left, but they had they left binders with places with notes of places to check out and
Mm.
menus, and they were on the phone with me. It's like, what, just let me know if you need any help with anything, and I'm like, no man, I'm fine, thanks very
Okay.
much. But they were so sweet. I love Salem. I can't say enough nice things about Salem. But
Maybe, because, here's the thing. If you're, like, staying at a hotel, obviously a hotel's always going to be booked and busy. You know what
yes.
I mean? A B&B, maybe not. So maybe they really understand, like, and I got a friend that wants to go. She wants to take her son to Pompeii, and I'm gonna suggest to her that maybe she stays there. Um, the lady was really nice. Like, I got friends who are like, I'm not ever going to Naples. Like, look, I'm not. Look, that was my experience. Y'all go.
Mm-hmm.
It might be
Mm-hmm.
better. It might be better for you. I'm just telling you what I went through, but I really appreciated that. Like, she was just really really sweet. She was just really really nice. So it's like, man, I need to. I'm trying to do better. I'm so not the best person and, like, kind of keeping up with people and just kind of reaching out. But I'm trying to get better about that. So I was like, man, let me. So I'm, like, scrolling through my phone, trying to find her number in my WhatsApp, and I find it and I shoot her a quick message. She messaged back. She was like, oh my God, yes, of course I remember you. And da 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 da. I'm like,
Yes. Yeah.
she was such a sweetheart. I mean, she was just such a sweetheart. Um, so the other thing I was thinking about, so I was watching something the other day that came across. I think it was on Facebook, and it talked about how it's a privilege to travel, and I don't think at times I think about it in that way, but I get it because, like, most people don't travel, right? Yeah, I looked up some statistics because I was kind of interested. And people don't travel domestically. Like, I'm not even talking about hopping on a plane and going somewhere for 12 hours and being there. I'm talking about, like, from my state to the next state, or
Mm-hmm.
your
Mm-hmm.
province to the next province. So what I found out, which I knew this about America. Where's my note? So 34% of Americans travel domestically, which I was like, that is insane. And
Hmm.
then apparently 61% of Canadians travel domestically.
Yeah,
So
I can see that.
you can see that. So my
Yeah.
question to you is there any place in Canada that you haven't, that you want to go that you haven't gone?
Yeah, actually, boy, quite a few places. The main barrier is flights. Flights are just travel in Canada is expensive, man. That's a whole other discussion.
Really?
But yeah, three places I've always wanted to go is I've always wanted to go to Alberta during the rodeo, the Stampede. I've heard great things.
Ooh.
And I have friends who've gone. They say, yeah, it's an amazing time. And it's like, all right, I would love to go to Newfoundland. To I wanted to see Lonsa Meadows, the Viking settlement in Newfoundland. I've had people who lived in Newfoundland who said, "Yeah, don't bother about it. Don't go. Like, there's really nothing to see there." It's like, all right, you're not exactly selling your province, but I've I've heard great things about St. John's, Newfoundland,
Okay.
and believe it or not, I would love to check out Yukon Territory during the summer.
Really?
Yeah, I would just check it out. Just go camping, go hiking, check it out for maybe like a few days, and check out Whitehorse and see how everything is.
Okay.
I've
Yeah,
heard
I was
great
looking
things.
at Newfoundland at one time too. There isn't, no, it isn't a lot to do there, but I think it's very naturey. Like what I saw, it was very pretty,
Yes,
and I
yes, for
could live
sure.
with, like, I could live with that. I don't always need to be on the go, like doing something. Just being somewhere that's really kind of peaceful and tranquil. I think I could make that work.
It is stunningly gorgeous. I will say that. There is a lot of dry. Like I saw, like to get from St. John's to Lonsa Meadows. So St. John's is on the southeast of the island, and
Hmm.
Lonsa Meadows, the Viking settlement, is on the very tippy top of the island. And the way
Oh,
the
okay.
roads are in Newfoundland, it's like 1,000 kilometers, and it's like I can drive to Winnipeg in less kilometers than that. Like it is so far. And it's like I've had to talk to people. It's like, how do I get to what's the fastest way? And they're telling me just go to Quebec and take a ferry across the ocean. And it's like,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
it's like that's probably best. But and then they say there's really nothing to see there. Like there's just some sights and that's it. Just go to St. John's. St. John's is the best. And it's like, all right. But yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about Newfoundland. Like the people are amazing, and that's what I've always
Yeah.
wanted to experience. And it's funny that you said that because one time I was going to go, right. Like I like to book my trips last minute. I like to plan,
Oh my God. Okay.
and I was gonna. It's like, you know what, man, I want to go to Newfoundland. I just want to check out the people. And it's Monday. I want to go this Friday, and I was looking at flights, and it's like $900 to go from Toronto to St. John's. I'm like,
Ooh.
I ain't doing that. I'm sorry. Like as much as I want to visit, like and I'm
Right.
terrible at this. Like I don't like to plan long term. I'm very short term when it comes to my trips. I just want to, I
Really?
got some time off. Where can I go?
Mm.
And that's kind of that's what hurts me domestically when I
Okay.
when I want to travel.
Is that you gotta, for y'all, you need to plan a little bit.
Yeah, if I want to save as much as I can, right? Like I don't mind spending the money, but
Right.
we're talking like a difference of like, for $50 more, I could probably fly to Greece. Like that's how
Right.
expensive flying in Canada is.
Well, I told you that. Remember, that's how I ended up on the tour guide with you guys because I was supposed to go to uh, Seattle, Seattle and Portland. I was gonna be gone a week, and that was gonna cost me 1,700. No, that costed me $1,500. And then Hurricane Harvey hit, wrecked everything. They canceled my flight. I had flight insurance within 2 days. I had my money back, and then I was like, "Well, I need to go do something." And then I stumbled across winter in Italy, and it was like $1,700 for 2 weeks. And I was
Wow.
like, "Well,
Yeah.
that's where I'm gonna go." Well, let me just add these $200 and go over there and play in Italy for a little bit. So it is kind of the same things, though. I think for me, I still haven't gotten around to the Pacific Northwest, and that's the place that I would go right now. But like
Yeah, I would love to visit Seattle.
every time I plan that trip, something crazy happens. So I think I'm kind of gun shy at this point. Well, the first time I was gonna go, I thought about it. I was gonna go for my birthday, and it was the year my dad died. Like I was just
Mm.
I was tracking the tickets, the flights, and the flights had just dropped. And I remember talking to my best friend. I said, "Oh man, I just saw this really good price for this ticket to Seattle. I think I'm gonna book it for my birthday." So my friend was like, "Yeah, you know, you need to book it before it goes up." And then so she and I had this conversation like on a Saturday, and my dad died like that Tuesday. I was like, "Wait, what?"
Mm.
So that happened, and then when I finally did have it all booked out, like the crazy hurricane came through and shut down our airports and everything. So you
Wow.
couldn't even get a flight like out of Houston, like at all. And they sent the email like the day before, and they were like, "We're canceling your trip." I'm like, "Well, duh, because the airport shut down. Like, what could I do?" And like every airport, like I couldn't even like drive to a. First of all, the roads were flooded too. Like Harvey was a really bad storm, so it wasn't like I could get in my car and like drive to the closest airport would have been probably Austin to catch a flight out or something like that. Like I was
Mhm.
stuck. Um, but yeah, I would love to get over there. Fun fact: there's a city called Everett. I had an interview. They're about an I think it's an hour from Seattle. I had an interview for a tourism job there.
How'd that go?
I didn't get it, but they were really impressed. They wanted somebody who had because I think they were doing like some new campaign around like extreme sports and stuff like that. So they wanted somebody who had more of a sports kind of tourism background, which I did
Ah, I
not
see.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um. Actually, I'm just about to wrap, Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're at
okay.
45 minutes. I didn't want to torture them with an hour of us. An hour plus. One last thing, I guess, because it was on my list. Wait, though, let's go back to the tourism stats. So you would agree that probably 61% of Canadians travel domestically? You think that's an accurate?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I can't speak for central Canada, but I think that Ontario and Quebec and the Atlantic provinces, there's definitely a lot of inter-province traveling there.
Okay.
I know a lot of people in Vancouver who like to go to Alberta. I know a lot of Albertans who, as much as they hate Vancouver and British Columbia, they love to go there. Um, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there is a lot to do. You just got to know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, no, like I said, I was really, I know, Americans don't travel as much. It's funny because when I was working in one of my cities, this lady, she was telling me a story about how somebody had compromised her card or something, and so the bank calls and they're like, "Were you in Paris?" And she was like, "No." She was like, "I never left my city, let alone my state." And I was like, "Ma'am, ma'am." But to your point, it's like sometimes it's cheaper to just, which is like for me, like, and so that's when I saw the Alamo. Like, I didn't see the Alamo until like 8 years ago in 2018 when 2017 when Harvey happened, because I went to go somewhere for my birthday, so I ended up driving to San Antonio, and I was like, oh, I should probably go see the Alamo, and that was the first time. But it's cheaper sometimes to go abroad than to kind of stay in
Yes.
your own neck of the woods, and that's really unfortunate though.
Yeah, that's definitely true of Canada for sure. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
for a few $100 more, like, damn. I mean, I remember seeing a price one time. There was a sale. So sometimes people in Toronto will fly out of Buffalo,
Yeah, I
and
remember you telling me that sometimes
yeah,
you'll go
yeah, yeah. So I think
into
mentioned
states.
this last time. There was a seat sale where you can go from Buffalo to Seattle and take a flight from Seattle to London, and it was still cheaper than going from Toronto to London.
That's
And it was like, oh,
crazy.
like, yeah, that's just how expensive it is, and it's just the way that the system's set up here, and Canada's different. And unfortunately, it makes things expensive. But I mean, when you do it, you try and make the most out of it, right? You try to get the most bang for
Oh
your
yeah,
buck.
of course. Is
So it's not
like,
like
but
in.
so is road tripping possible? I know. I mean,
Oh,
Canada's
for
pretty.
sure, yes, yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. Road tripping is definitely very possible.
Okay. Well, I know everything's kind of spaced out and it's wide and everything. I think I'm gonna do some road trips this year.
Yeah, I think that's a good. That's always a safe bet here. I mean, there's like a lot of camping. There's a lot of beautiful towns in southern Ontario, and just even going up to Quebec,
Mm-hmm.
it's a weekend. It's a weekend trip.
Okay.
I think it's a 10-hour drive to Montreal,
Oh,
but
that's not bad.
no, it's not bad at all.
That's not bad at all.
So
I love Montreal too. Alrighty, friends, we're at the 50-minute mark. I think that's a lot better than 70 minutes. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Shall we do this again, Nelson?
most certainly.
Good
I
deal.
you know what? There's like a lot of stories I want to tell, and I was starting to think it's like, did I mention this last time? So I want because we were talking about people, and there was someone I wanted to bring up with on my Portugal trip, and like there was a memory I had of what this woman did, and it's like, first of all, I got to clear it with you because it's very adult, like it's very not safe for work.
Oh, I don't know. No, I don't think you talked about it. I think you told me about it on the back end.
Yes, okay, yes. So Michelle the Australian, who I will
Yes,
never
yes,
forget.
yes, yes. You told me about it on the
Okay,
back end. We
yes, and
might have to
okay, so we'll
save
talk
that
about
because we joked about like a kind of after dark episode.
yes, yeah. Yeah,
And
what's
I'm
the
like,
best
I
places to
don't
get laid in?
know
It's like,
if that's in my brand, but we can have a little after dark side. That wouldn't be
you
bad.
know what? It's conversations that I like to have with people, and this seems to really get them to light up. And it's like, have you ever heard this? I've heard these anecdotes. What's your experience? And inevitably, like hooking up and sex always comes up.
Right.
So
Well, I think
you know,
people, there's a market for everything, right? So I think people. I
oh
told you,
God,
I had a friend that thought like, oh my God, you have to be like, is that what you're traveling for? And I'm like, no, I'm like literally traveling to travel. Like, is that what you
yeah.
thought? Like, all this time you thought that's what was going on? Like,
If it
Jesus.
happens, it happens. But I'm not looking
Right,
for it.
that's not right. Like, I'm not gonna pay $1,700
Yeah.
to go to Italy to hook up. Like, to solely hook up? Like, for
Yeah.
that reason only? Like, nah,
I'm not looking for it,
nah.
but
You're a mess. Alrighty, guys, we're gonna wrap. And with that, my friends, I will talk to y'all later.
die.
Bye.